I love not abysmal dog shit. I love it when the game is balanced. I love it when the game gives me a good time. I love it when the game is like your mother. Very nice and wholesome, and, might make me cookies once in a while. And speaking of something that's kind of like cookies in a bread derivative, I am drinking something called the Grateful Red, and it's a red ale. It's a beer. It tastes like a beer. And I've been doing the thing where I take the beer from the can and I pour it in a cup to kind of get rid of some of the carbonation, because apparently craft beers, when they are packaged, come with like too much carbon dioxide. And if you pour them into a glass, and you pour them straight into a glass, not do like the weird like side pour thing where you like try to like trickle it in, but just take the shit and, like, pour it straight in. You get a little bit less carbonation, and it means that when you pour the beer into your stomach, it doesn't blow up and make you want to explode. But speaking of making things explode, we're flying the La-15, one of the planes of all time. And it's actually one of my favorite planes. It's one of my favorite planes in ARB, and it's one of those planes that I really like because it's really unique for the 1950s. Like, this time in aviation history when people were like still figuring out jets and didn't really know exactly what was going on, and they're just like, let's throw some shit together and see what works. Like, you got like the wing fences, you got the high wings. It's a goofy looking plane. It's kind of like a baby MiG-15 that didn't ever become the MiG-15, because the MiG-15 in real life was like better, more capable than this thing. Like, the Soviets liked it better. This was the runner-up to it. But in Warthunder, this thing is 8.0, and the flight performance is like, for 8.0, is really, 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 really solid. I am playing it in 8.0 to 9.0, which means the flight performance should be lacking a little bit. I'm fighting sabers. I'm fighting things up to 9.0, things that should be able to outperform me. But I found the match. I found the Holy Grail match, the match where, for the most part, everything that's in this match are like legacy planes, planes that are not new, planes that are not premium, planes that like existed like 4 to 5 years ago, before Gaijin added what amounts to pay-to-win stuff like the Sea Vixen and the Ariete, to be specific, for like this BR. Those planes are not really in this. I think there's like a Sea Vixen one around the background, but we finally have something that's like not like, you're not agonizing fighting a guy in a plane just because like he just completely outperforms you in every way. Like, yes, the Sabres do outperform the La-15, but they outperform it in a couple of respects. They're faster. They don't turn quite as well, but they're basically on par. They accelerate better, and the roll rate might be about the same. And then the guns are better. The F-86 F2 at 9.0 is probably one of the best legacy 9.0 planes. Like, if you really want to like play a plane where you just stay 1,000 kph, you pull deflection, you shoot, you got the rail guns, that plane's excellent. Probably one of my favorite 9.0s in the game. Like, I really, really like the Sabres, but I like the La-15. I like the MiG-15. I even like the MiG-17, even though the MiG-17 is abysmal, absolute dog shit when it comes to like actually looking forward. Because like the La-15, you see this thing, you got like the little donut in the front, you got like the little bulletproof glass. In the 17, that thing is like so much bigger, the brackets are so much bigger, they obstruct so much of your view that flying that thing around feels like you're like, your front view is like staring through a drinking straw. With that being said, I still love the aesthetics of the 17. I love the way the 17 flight model handles. I love the air brake. I love everything about it as far as like the matchup between all of these planes, because the matchup between all these planes really comes down to who makes the better choices. And on these maps here, it's small enough that like we have constant action. We have like constant, probably 2 to 3 minutes between engagement, maybe up to 5. They're just big enough that your big, fast, wonky planes like your Hunter, your Scimitar, the triangle, the big triangle thing, the Javelin, there's enough space for them to work with. It's not like fighting in a postage stamp, but it's also not like playing like Screen Inspection Simulator. So that's really nice. Now, what is the La-15 good at? Well, it's good at rolling around. It's good at turning. It has pretty decent acceleration, although at 8.0, there's some stuff that can kind of give you some problems. Like G91s should give you problems. F-86s should have the resources to give you problems. But if they don't use the resources, then it's just kind of like flying everything else. And this match here, the way that I would describe this feels a lot like a prop game. This feels a lot like flying like a 109 F4 in a 4.0 to 5.0, where you know that, hey, the 5.0 planes, if they play correctly, if they like maintain speed, if they come in at the wrong time, they take advantage of the opportunity. Like if they use like a little bit of brain power, they should give you trouble. But that doesn't happen. But it's nice because it's not that like that really jarring aspect of like when you play props and you're playing 6.3, you're playing F7F, and you run into like a guy in a BI. You run into a guy in a BI and you're just like, I don't have a reply for this. I dive and hope he compresses and flies in front of my gun. That's what you got. But this right now, if mid-tier was just this, if mid-tier was consistently just this and not the 64,000 games of like people just like mindlessly bombing on Denmark that had like some kind of like dynamics to them, mid-tier would be great. Like mid-tier would have as much of an audience as kind of like your lower prop tier stuff. Like your 4.0, 5.0, even down to 3.0, you have a really dedicated player base there because like it's easy to find the 1 to 2 games that have people that want to play them. Mid-tier, we're not there yet. Hopefully, maybe these videos like motivate people to want to play them. But, you know, maybe they won't because like maybe you have to cycle through like 64 games to find the one that has like, you know, like players in it that want to shoot at each other that you kind of get discouraged. It's like we're still in the paradox of mid-tier is not popular because it's not popular, and it can't be popular because it's not popular. But we're trying to make it that way, and the first step is kind of highlighting some of the planes and kind of how to play them. Now, La-15, 8.0, very good jack of all trades. You do have to understand some of the matchups. You do have to understand some of the positioning stuff. Like the late tier F80s, the one with WEP, basically has like really, really good power to weight ratio. When it uses WEP with flaps, it can probably keep up in a turn fight really well. Like if a guy comes in very aggressively, knows how to handle the straight line planes, can give you some issues. Same thing with the F86s, the F86A5 with the slats. It can probably sit inside your turn for a little bit. It can probably keep up with you for the most part if it comes in at 1,000 kph. If it's already slow, you can probably run it out of energy. But none of your fights are like, none of them feel like all that unearned, except for F84s, the 7.71. If you are not a straight line gamer, not a guy that likes to stay at like 1,050 kph for the whole game, or not a guy that really understands trajectories, like if you get caught maneuvering this thing's not very good. It's still, I would say, still better than the swept wing version, which was kind of added like late in the game. Very mediocre, kind of like a pretty decent attacker, pretty decent staying fast. Maybe not that bad at this tier. Like it's not going to be as jarring as like ARB. Like I think the F84, the swept wing one, is like number 2 as far as deafness is concerned of like cock and ball torture planes. But this is sim, this is not ARB, and you kind of have the choice of like not playing the cock and ball torture plane when it's like in the cock and ball torture like BR, and that's a smart thing to do. I would recommend that you don't play things in the cock and ball torture BR or in the cock and ball torture game, which is why I am not going out of my way to play this thing against Ariettes, which, speaking of Ariettes, I do have the blueprints for a video to make an Ariette video, and I also have another La-15 game where we actually did play against Ariettes, and we did okay. Like, if you're going to fight the Ariette, and if you have to fight it, probably the best way to fight it is fight it on its own terms and just be maneuverable and understand trajectories, because most of these guys in Ariettes literally they bought a plane for the ability to pay to win, to have like a huge advantage over you, that they don't really know anything else. So you can just kind of like cut the throttle and they'll usually just like shoot out in front of you. So it's kind of, it's bad to say that a plane that is overwhelmingly good and overwhelmingly powerful is like literally like, yeah, just cut your throttle, let it fly in front of you, because like just assume the player is like dog shit, dog trash ass. But I mean, it's literally something that happens. all the time. We get an F9F. Now, the F9F, the Cougar, the swept wing one, is reasonably fast, has really bad energy retention, and this is one of those planes that is kind of held back by the player base, because people go for the Cougar because 4 AIM-9Bs, 4 missiles against things without flares and missiles seems like easy kills. But with that plane, you get like a little bit of a wonky, weird flight model. My personal opinion, I think the straight wing Panther is better than the Cougar, the F9F5. That is the plane that I would use. But even the F9F8, if the flight model actually handles like pretty well, like even if it doesn't turn really well, if it's nice and predictable, I might be able to get something out of it. It might not be as bad as I say. But with that being said, with the La-15, things will catch up to you. Things can shoot you in deflections because the F-86 F2 has railguns. 50 cals are pretty good too. And we got wingtip damage. And we're going to run into the most overpowered legacy, blah, 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 blah. It's not even a legacy plane. It's just an event plane. The F-11 can also give you problems. Has railguns, pretty fast, good acceleration, afterburner. Probably the only thing in this match that like kind of stands out, and the guy that's flying it is not nearly as obnoxious as kind of like the average Ariete. So overall, yeah, it's overpowered. Yes, you can argue like, oh yeah, it's too good, and it's like, well, yeah, but I think the F-11 is like in one of those weird spots where you up tier it to 9.3, or yeah, if you put it to 9.7, the plane's useless. So like I can understand why that plane's there, and at worst, it's got 2 9Bs, and it's a slightly better Hunter FGA-9 basically, because it can go faster and it's smaller and it's easier, or it's not easier, it's harder to hit like in counterattacks. But that plane is an event plane. It's not going to be super duper common, so I'm not too concerned about it. The guy that's flying it, whatever, he's probably new, so I'm not as frustrated because the plane at least has like some drawbacks. Once it gets slow, if you get it stuck in a sustained turn fight, it can't really do a lot. Come in, another F9F goes for our F-86, and this is one of the things I wish they'd solve, is like just make it so like the planes that you're fighting against, like for AI, don't match up to your friendlies and enemies or whatever, or make it so that like if you see an F-86 and you're fighting F-86s, you know that it's an AI F-86, or you know that like F-86s are enemies. But you can't really solve that for this because you have Japan is red team, Italy is like red team sometimes. So you're gonna have F-86s regardless, because everyone bought F-86s. So man, you can't solve it. Wish they would make the AI make sense. This is a really cool kill though. I love this. I love it when shit like this happens. Scimitar, another one of those planes. A lot of potential for being like obnoxious, but this is a plane that doesn't fit anywhere outside of this BR. If you move it up where it's slow, it's not maneuverable, and if you keep it here, it's fast and obnoxious, but it's got 9Bs, and it's fat, it's got good guns, and it dies like everything else. So it's like, it's not bad, and that's the thing. It's like, nothing has to be perfectly balanced. Like, you can play things to like their theoretical potential, but this is a good game. We're coming out of this like 14, 15, and 2. Nothing was super jarring. Everything went pretty well. Got some kills. Didn't feel like I was doing a bunch of bullshit, though, which is nice. It's nice when I'm not doing a bunch of bullshit. Anyways, that's the video. Like and subscribe, or don't. It's fine. Life will go on.